Hey, Jason Bradley from Community Solutions, Minnesota. We just started an Instagram account that I want to tell you guys about because we're finding all this great stuff across the state of Minnesota, and we have to share it with you. You're going to find exclusive content that is not going to be anywhere else on the web. We're going to give you behind-the-scenes looks at our podcasts, our tour of roundabouts, the mixed-use development that we find, our keynote addresses, all this stuff that is going to have a great story along with it that you can share with your friends and your neighbors so that they understand what's going on in their cities as well. Where can you find it? COMM Solutions MN on Instagram. Thank you very much. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. So now please share it, get out there, and let's tell our story, Minnesota. Thank you.
Crawling faster, obey your master. Your life burns faster, obey your master. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter.
Now, as always, you've got to tell me where that's from.
That's an old Metallica song, Master of Puppets.
I kind of like those guys.
Yeah, I think it was about government.
Okay. They're pretty good. I was not the biggest heavy metal fan in the world, but I look back on it, the 80s, the era of heavy metal and the 80s pop music, and I'd take that any day to the music I hear now. So I'm all for reminiscing about anything in the 80s. As good as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I'm big into that too. I mean, there's some good stuff out now, and I listen to, the gamut, whether it's the 1400s or the 2000s and teens. I find the good in all of it. But
you've lost me already.
That's so. Well, no, I don't know. Music to me, I mean, it resonates, and I suppose that's why I do it, is because I love it, and it's good.
I suppose.
It's like baseball for you. It's like baseball for you.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Baseball is one of my lifetime passions, as much as I complain about it. Kind of like politics, I complain about it all the time, but it's just a total 110% passion that I just will never be without. Right.
Yeah. It's true. Politics is one of those things that, once you get passionate about, you see tangible evidence of how your life changes for the better or the worse, depending on who's making policy, and
Let me guess what we get more of.
Yeah. It's definitely going in that direction nationally at every level. And hopefully that's something that we will be able to reverse at some point. So, that's why we're here anyways. And it gets the competitive juices flowing for us. I mean, this is our Super Bowl. There's no off season, but
the only people who work harder than us are pro wrestlers. That's what I've said.
Really? I don't know. I think I pulled a hammy once.
Oh, well, yeah. You might have chipped a nail or something, too.
Well,
cut myself shaving.
Oh, boy.
Well, I'll tell you what. We got a fun topic today, don't we, Jay? We always do. But today, let me just preface something.
Okay.
We always talk about how government above you is governments above are manipulating governments below.
Yeah, yep. I would agree with that 100%.
That's a theme that we've talked about a million times.
Yes. Yep.
And
absolutely. Whether it's federal government, state government, county government, regional government of some kind coming down on local. Yeah.
Yeah, and whether it's coming down on a school, from the Board of Education here in Minnesota, or the legislature, or the education department, whether it's the EPA, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, the Met Council, whatever. Yeah. I think today you're going to get a lot out of exactly what's happening, because they use something called grant money.
Yes.
I think local governments take it for granted once in a while. Okay, that was terrible. But what is a grant? I mean, you hear this term all the time. We got a grant to do this and a grant to do that and blah, 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 blah. Well, what's in these grants?
Free money.
Oh, free money. So that's nobody paid for it?
No, didn't the Treasury print it, or grew on a tree? Or
I don't know if the Met Council's got its own printing press, but that's, I suppose. But grant money is being used at a rate that is very hard to keep up with in this country.
Yeah, it's true. It seems to be growing all the time. There's more projects that need funding, and if it's not coming through some sort of a tax increment financing district or something like that, it's coming through a grant.
Yeah, so what are these grants? Who gives these grants?
I would like to know that.
Yeah, how do these grants work?
Do they give them to individuals? Oh, sorry.
Possibly.
Oh.
Possibly a nonprofit, an NGO. Not necessarily the grants we're going to focus on here today, but federal money can go to things like that, more to like a nonprofit. Even a 501c3 can apply. I don't know that they'll get them.
Yeah.
But the League of Minnesota Cities, it just always takes the lead in trying to find free money.
Yeah.
They do all the complaining, yet they want everything. They want their cake and they want to eat it too.
Well, isn't that what they all want?
Yeah, pretty much. But pretty much any government above a city can pretty much hand out a grant. Counties can do it. Met Council can do it. State can do it through, we'll get into this, but legacy funding is one. MnDOT has their own grants. The federal government has grants as well.
Oh, yes. And we've talked about some of those with HUD.
There's a
community block grants.
There's a gazillion of them.
Yes.
Community block grants is one of the only ways federal money gets to a city.
Right.
And that's relatively small amounts of money. I mean, it may be $2,500 here, $5,000 here. Of course, how much money that was lost in the money merry-go-round. You and I cutting a check to Uncle Sam, and Uncle Sam paying their union employees, and then sending what's left to the city with strings attached.
Yeah.
Probably loses most of the money, gets vaporized by the time it gets back.
Right.
So, but just to give you an example, okay. Well, first off,
yes.
Why don't we talk how they work a little bit?
That'd be a good place to start.
Yeah. I'm going to use our favorite city to pick on.
New Hope.
No Hope for New Hope.
Love it.
Now, you might say, well, how does a grant start? Who applies for it? What do you get it for? Well, let me tell you what New Hope has done. You want to talk about a city that blatantly, they might as well write on City Hall, we want all the free money we can possibly get.
Yeah, that's about right.
Their city manager, and I'm not picking on him because he's doing what he's told here. I mean,
yeah,
in a way, he's not making policy. He's carrying out what the city council's asking him to do.
Right. Well,
sure, he has influence.
Yeah,
but
League of Minnesota Cities and everybody, says this is what you do. So, that's
true.
what
But the council doesn't have to listen to it.
No. Well,
unfortunately, it'd be nice to have an independent-minded council, which we don't in New Hope. So, New Hope actually has it in, and I'm going to tie this together, so just stick with me. New Hope has it written in their city manager evaluation. A city manager gets evaluated every year.
Right.
They're usually on a one-year contract. Mm-hmm. Not that their job's really in jeopardy. It's just
right.
Goes year to year. and they're judged on 5, 6, 7, 8 criteria. What they are doesn't matter.
No.
One of the ones in New Hope is ability to get grant money for the city of New Hope from pretty much any source.
My goodness.
So he is incentivized, if you will, to go out and look for as much free money as he can find. Now, why is that significant? Here's why. Because what am I going to do? If I'm a city manager and my council tells me, go get me free money, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
Well, the land use.
Where do we want to redevelop?
Hey, we got this spot here. We can get a community block grant, or we can get one of these Met Council ones that will get in. I'm going to go apply for free money. Hey, we need lights on this ball field, so I'm going to apply for a youth sports grant over at Hennepin County.
Right.
Blah, blah. That's what they're going to do. They're going to manipulate things to happen in order for the free money to come in.
Right. Now, we should differentiate. I mean, I don't know that all grants are bad. I mean, you've got private grants that come through a foundation with, say, a wealthy benefactor, and that's different than what we're talking about here. We're talking about government-funded grants that come from tax money that's been withheld and repurposed for this purpose.
Right. It's money sent to a different form of government that gets spent on a project at a different level of government.
And it's really to coerce governments into doing things the way that they want them to do it.
Yes.
It
is that open and blatant. Some people think that that's an exaggeration. I'm here to tell you, no way.
I mean, it's basically bribery. We're going to give you money to build what we want you to build.
Right.
I mean, who's going to build some of this stuff anyways if it weren't for money being given to them? Why don't we go through what some of this stuff is?
Okay, where should we start here? Do we start at the county, the Met Council?
Pick one. It's hard to pick a favorite.
I don't know that those are favorites of mine. But,
yeah, why don't we start with the Livable Communities grants to the Met Council?
Okay, hold on. Let me get my iPad in conjunction with me here. Okay, well, Livable Communities is just, kind of, I don't want to call it like slang for everything we don't like.
Yeah.
But you might as well call it that. I mean, it's basically, first off, Livable Communities is a program that the Met Council has. And basically it's, the idea behind it is that you have to link everything to, housing, roads, if you want any, transit. Mm-hmm. The whole kit and caboodle has to be taken into account when doing something. If you don't do that, you are in an unlivable community, I guess.
I guess so. I mean, they're uninhabited. You see tumbleweeds. It's a ghost town.
I suppose. I don't know. But they have 4 different types of livable communities grants. One is called the LCDA.
LCDA.
Livable Communities Demonstration Account. Now, let me say their definition, and then maybe we can reinterpret it.
Yeah, let's do that.
It supports innovative development and redevelopment that links housing, jobs, and services and demonstrates efficient and cost-effective use of land and infrastructure. Okay, here's code word number 1. High density.
Right.
Efficient land use is code words for mixed use and high density. They don't say that here.
No, but that's what it is.
Right. Links housing and jobs. Well, how can you link a house to a job, Jay?
Well, there's a couple of ways. One is mixed-use development, where you have communities on top of businesses. Another way is by transit. And in fact, I will say, if you go past the little blurb and click on more about it, it will actually come out and say that the LDCA funds innovative redevelopment projects that efficiently link housing, jobs, service, and transit in an effort to create inspiring and lasting livable communities.
Now, what's amazing is I didn't even have to link on that, and I still knew the answer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. How about Local Housing Initiatives Account, LHIA? Would you love these acronyms?
I do. They roll off the tongue like...
Well,
I got nothing.
I don't know that they do.
They don't.
I can't even describe this. I mean, it funds the expansion and preservation of affordable housing for rental and ownership to help municipalities meet their negotiated LCA housing goals. I wonder how that negotiation goes.
I know how that negotiation goes. Here are the numbers for growth that we expect in your community.
And of course, every community is going to grow, which of course is BS to start with.
So you're going to write into your comprehensive plan how many units of compacted and medium and high density housing you're going to build, and then you're going to build them.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Okay, moving on. I don't have anything to add to that. The TBRA, the T-bra is what I call this.
Yeah.
The T-bra. I got a size T-bra. Okay, the tax-based... No, I really don't. Tax-based revitalization account provides... All right, now, first off, tax-based revitalization. Okay, now that in and of itself is code words. It's code words for we're going to tear it down, build something, and that is going to be more expensive so we can take more tax money out of it. Okay,
Yeah.
Revitalization. Clean up contaminated sites in the 7-county metropolitan region. Well, where are those?
Well, that's...
Is there a map somewhere of contaminated sites?
I don't know. All the uranium mines and the...
How about this?
I don't know.
These are the goals within the goal. Increase communities' local tax base. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, why would you want to do that? Oh, so you can take more tax money and spend it. Here's one. Add or preserve living wage jobs.
Ooh, our favorite.
How does that make it into this? Living wage jobs. So, tell me the contaminated site out there that's going to preserve living wage jobs.
Downtown Minneapolis.
Yeah, you can tear that down.
It's definitely contaminated.
Okay, now you have, here again are the rest of the things we always talk about.
Yeah.
Provide affordable housing. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have living wage jobs with subsidized housing. Interesting.
Yeah.
Expand each community's range of housing choices. Well, it's funny because usually when people build, they build the houses that all look like each other.
Mm-hmm.
A townhome community. How is that housing choices? They all look the same.
Right. Well, that's just one choice. There's already enough single-family homes, so they need to build more townhomes, more apartments, because that gives a choice. More assisted living complexes, because that gives a choice. We don't need more single-family homes.
So when I go out there, I can go live in assisted living? That's one of my housing choices?
Well, I don't know. Would they turn you away? I've never tried.
Well, maybe they wouldn't. I suppose if you can pay the rent, you can pay the rent.
Yeah.
Developed compactly. Code words for high density. Efficiently use transit and sewer services. Encourage use of parks and walking trails. Wow. That pumps up living wage jobs. Remember, every bike path. What was it? 100. What was our 100
for every $1 million in
bike paths?
Bike paths, 11 jobs,
That's
11
right.
to 14 jobs.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we've got the $100 million bicycle tax
Yes.
to get 1,100 jobs in Minnesota. The BST. All right. Supports blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. So, again, the same language that you hear all the time. $5 million annually to invest in cleaning up your... By the way, all these programs, $21 million is the total of bribery money handed out to local government through this. And, of course, our favorite. We should come up with a song for this.
Yeah.
TOD.
Oh, boy.
Transit orientated. I'm just saying orientated just because I hate it. Not the word oriented, but orientated, just because, I always remember as a kid when President Bush Sr. used to call Saddam Hussein Saddam.
Yeah.
I always thought he did that deliberately to insult him.
Might be.
Maybe. So I'm going to call transit orientated development just to insult TOD.
All right.
And this is, of course, the here's something I learned, though, in researching this. We always say they're within half a mile of an LRT or a BRT or a commuter rail.
Right.
But the projects are supposed to be within a quarter mile of a high-frequency bus route. They are also eligible for transit-orientated funding.
Wow.
TOD. There is a Livable Communities Advisory Committee that is made up, once again, of a lot of local office holders. You've got the mayor of Apple Valley, who is the chair of this, and so on and so forth. There are, kind of looks to me like a public-private partnership. I don't know who some of this stuff is from. It looks like the finance, the development are kind of a public-private partnership to me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it is a lot of elected people at the county level, at the city level, and yeah, it's got different consulting groups. It's got a bunch of some businesses. So it is really a mix.
Right, and we should remember livable communities. You have to be a member of this little group, and 95 cities in the 7-county metro are a part of this. And for the most part, if you live in Hennepin County, you're pretty much a part of this.
Yeah.
There's about 5 cities that aren't. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at a map, and the only cities that I can see that are not a part of this are, I didn't think Hanover was in Hennepin County, but I thought that was Wright County. But you've got Corcoran is not a part of it, Independence is not, Minnetrista is not, Tonka Bay, Deep Haven, they don't look like they're a part of it, but pretty much everybody else is.
Right.
Pretty much everybody in Ramsey County. Little Canada is not. And that's the only one I can really make out.
Huh.
Anoka County, most of them are. Some of them aren't. Ham Lake's not. Andover's not. Nowthen's not. Carver County hardly has any. So it seems like the further you get away from the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, you are more unlikely. But my guess is, as those areas continue to develop over the next couple decades, Jay, they're going to be under pressure to get every type of housing. If you drove through Oak Grove, for example, you're not going to find much affordable housing out there.
Right.
But my guess is a city like that is going to be under pressure over the next 10, 15, 20 years to add that.
Right.
So, and you're going to see that in the comprehensive planning process. And then they're going to want to take advantage of the free money to go do this stuff.
Yeah, and livable communities, as defined by our friends over at the AARP,
The AARP.
Yeah. That's where I found.
I get
the
mail
definition.
from them. Why do I get mail from them?
You're old. I don't get mail from them.
You're
Maybe
older
they know
than me.
better. Well, don't tell them. Livable communities make for happier, healthier residents of every age in all life stages. A livable community is one that is safe and secure, has affordable and appropriate housing and transportation options, and offers supportive community features and services.
So then how could Minneapolis possibly be a livable community? Safe and secure?
Oh, boy.
How do they define what's safe and secure about housing? I'd like to know.
That is a good question. Because really, they want to build this stuff everywhere, and some places are a lot more safe and secure than others.
Well, it's again, the one size fits all. Every city has to have X amount of renting, X amount of affordable housing by whoever's definition, X amount of transit. There can't just be a city that is shining on a hill, as President Reagan used to say. We can't have that.
Right.
Ugh. All right, moving on. Hennepin County hands out some grants.
I bet they do.
How about the youth sports grant? Now, you might say, well, what's wrong with youth sports? Well, nothing, except when there's 20 criterias that are used to whether or not you get your own tax dollars spent in your community or not. $4 million is available annually for facility and equipment grants.
Ooh.
I don't know the circumstances, but I know that years ago, not that long ago, lights were installed on the Little League fields in Crystal. Do you know this?
Yeah. I was coaching Little League when they were doing that,
So
trying to raise funds. And,
it was a little bit ago then, because your
Yeah.
son's graduated high school now. So
Yeah.
it had to be.
There's that.
So it had to be a while back. I mean, this is 6-7 years ago, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's got to be if your kid was in Little League.
Yeah.
So I don't know what was met for that. I don't know how they got it. I really don't know the details. But facility grants are awarded once a year, and you are evaluated on the following. So, number one, this isn't based on need. You know, it's not based on whether lights are falling apart or our ball fields look like crap. No. That doesn't matter. Partnerships among local government units and between local government units and nonprofit organizations. I said unit twice. Ratio of matching funds and in-kind contributions to the amount requested. So you get a grant, but then you've got to match the grant?
I don't know if it's a full match. I mean, not a one-for-one match,
I see.
necessarily. I know that Crystal did have to kick in for not the City of Crystal, although the City of Crystal might have kicked in some money for that. I know that the Little League organization did a lot of fundraising as well.
I see. Okay.
But there was Hennepin County money that
Okay.
was given, yes.
Development of new and improved athletic and recreational opportunities. What does that mean? Okay, you've got Little League there.
Athletic and recreational opportunity.
Well, what are you doing to increase the opportunity?
I suppose by having lights you can play later. I don't know what that means, but I suppose for some people it could be a new sport, say that there's not women's hockey and they want to start a youth women's hockey league or, things like that. I suppose that would be an additional recreational opportunity.
Interesting.
Improved would be, I suppose, a new facility, something like that.
Okay, but if you're getting the grant money to approve... no, never mind.
Yeah.
You're not the one I want to argue with about it.
No, I'm not defending it.
User population characteristics and the number of youth served. User population characteristics.
That would be how diverse. That's what that means. How diverse is the population and how many youth are being served.
So So if you only have white kids playing, this is a hockey team, for example, you can't get this funding. Is that what it means?
Not necessarily. I mean, I would assume that they take in race and age and all of this different stuff, gender, into consideration. Why am I playing devil's advocate for this?
Well,
I'm trying to help people understand, and I come off like I'm making an excuse for this.
Well,
stuff.
I'm trying to figure out what the heck this means, because this language here doesn't mean anything to me.
Well,
number of youth served. Well, maybe if you have better facilities, more people will play. How do you know? It's just,
I don't know. They need a sign like McDonald's.
Yeah, I guess.
250 youth served.
Here's the thing I like.
Yeah.
Inclusion of environmental improvements. Well, we're going to have a ball field, but boy, it better be environmentally friendly. No sliding, okay? No nothing like that. No picking dandelions. No peeing in left field.
I hope nobody's peeing in left field.
Well, I mean, when I played Crystal Little League, I saw everything.
Oh, boy.
Oh, and the S word is next, Jay.
Yes.
I don't even want to
Sustainability.
say it. Yeah, you say it.
Yeah.
Equitable distribution throughout Hennepin County. Well, that's an interesting demand. What if only 5 cities apply for this? How do you equitably distribute this? You got to apply for grant money.
I don't know. Does that mean that Minneapolis can't get like an undue number of them, that they have to go out into the suburbs for some? Or
but isn't it? This should be based on need, shouldn't it be?
Should
Not
be.
on.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we got to give Plymouth this, and we got to give Rogers this.
Right.
I mean, some places
Need
have
is
older
subjective.
facilities than others.
Yeah. Need is subjective.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's
Yeah.
true. So that's the kind of thing. I mean, that's and I love this. Funding the Twins ballpark sales tax. I love how we're funding that.
Yes.
An additional 15 hours at the library. That's what's being donated. Instead of the Twin Stadium's paid for.
Yes.
So let's give the money back that we stole in the first place. No. We can't do that. We've got to. We've got this in. We've got this source of revenue.
Right.
We now have to use it. We can't give that back. Why would you give that back? I'll throw something out here, too. They give away a lot of housing grants.
Yeah.
They chose, this is from last May, Hennepin County has chosen 16 projects. I'm at finance-commerce.com, by the way.
Okay.
Within its borders for grants fostering transit-orientated development and affordable housing. So, again, you've got Hennepin County and the Met Council giving grants out for the same thing.
Huh.
And they do this through their... Here's another thing, too. I was aware of this, and I forgot to mention this. The housing stuff comes out of their HRA.
Right.
This is not in the general fund budget. This is their Housing and Redevelopment Authority,
Yes.
which is a separate tax.
Yes, it is. Those of you who listen to our podcast with Jeff Johnson, we mentioned it but didn't get into it very deep. This is what we're talking about.
Right. And basically, I want to... let's see, the projects are all listed here. Maybe it's something I'll do a blog post on, and we can kind of link to all this, because it's just too much to go through here. But, we've got a 70-unit mixed income apartment. What's a mixed income?
Well, yeah, you got to, I suppose, some of them.
So you got a mailman and a doctor and a lawyer and a teacher. Is that mixed income?
I suppose it is.
I'm asking you to play devil's advocate again, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I'm kind of stumped. I mean, you have an apartment building. I mean, can you have, out of a 10-unit apartment building, can you have 5 that are affordable housing, have 3 that are regular, and then have 2 luxuries? And how do you do that? And would somebody with a luxury apartment want to stay in the same building as someone with an affordable housing apartment?
No, they're going to go buy a house on Lake Minnetonka. That's what they're going to do. Minnehaha Commons, a Minneapolis-based Alliance Housing, Inc. I wonder what their CEO pulls in.
Yeah.
Plans to construct 43 rental units for seniors experiencing homelessness. Well, let me tell you, if they're homeless, how are they going to apply for this? How do they know?
That out. I don't know.
We got one in Brooklyn Park, 110 unit senior complex.
Ooh.
I mean, this is nothing but apartment buildings everywhere.
Yeah.
East Town
Seems
apartments.
to be that way.
Green on the 4th, 243 mixed income units near the Prospect Park station on the Metro Green Line. Now, the Green Line, refresh my memory, Jay. That's the one from the Capitol to, like, Target Field?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Yeah.
Okay. But, I mean, there's probably 2,000 units. I said unit again. Getting grants here to build nothing but high-density apartments, using transit as an excuse to doing it. I mean, this is... I still want to know what a mixed income unit is.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's allowing for people of all walks of life to be able to live in a single complex. I don't know how that's done. I don't know, if it has to do with underground parking versus no parking. I don't know if it has to. How do you become something for everybody when you're housing? I mean, just by definition, neighborhoods usually don't mix income levels, not to a great degree. You'll find some McMansions that get infilled, like in some Rambler type neighborhoods, but
a lot of that's government manipulated too.
Oh yeah,
EDAs. Okay, the one more thing I want to touch on here, and that's MnDOT has got. State of Minnesota's got them. I mean, legacy money, things like that, going to environmental things. MnDOT's got their own set.
Wow.
Safe Routes to School Planning Grant.
Nobody wants to take unsafe routes to school.
No, of course not.
So.
Minnesota communities and schools wanting to develop safer routes for students to walk and bicycle can apply for planning assistance grants through the Department of Transportation. So basically, aren't we paying for kids to get bused, first of all?
Yeah.
So it's not enough that we pay for the busing. And aren't there pretty much sidewalks around pretty much every school?
Yep.
Pretty darn close. Find me a school that doesn't have a sidewalk.
I don't think there is one.
But now we have to redo all of... By the way, hey, cities, the application deadline is January 5th. Boy, you want to get going on this.
Yeah.
So go have the city manager of New Hope write up something, or let's go destroy Cooper High School's sidewalks so they can apply for the grant.
Right.
How about this one? The Greater Minnesota Stand-Along Noise Barrier Grant. What in the world? Cities and townships are eligible. I'm at the League of Minnesota Cities, by the way.
Oh, boy.
LMC.org, if you're scoring at home, as Herb Carneal used to say. Cities and townships are eligible to apply for funding grants under the Minnesota Department of Transportation, MnDOT's Greater Minnesota Standalone Noise Barrier Program. Cities must be adjacent to a limited access freeway. I don't know what that means. There's only one on-ramp in the city. I don't
know either.
Expressway or interstate where the noise limits exceed the standards set by the FHA. Boy, I wonder how many qualify. Cities, by the way, it's not 100% free. They are required to pay 10% of the project cost.
Wow.
So, I mean, you want to... here's another. Workforce Housing Development Grant. The grant provides $2 million in ongoing funding for the direct development of a market rate residential rental property to increase the availability of rental housing in greater Minnesota. So they're encouraging greater Minnesota to provide more rentals.
Yes.
But it's not that, though, Jay. It's the workforce. Now, I don't see workforce in this grant anywhere.
Well, I suppose it is to try and get more people to move into some of the cities of greater Minnesota by providing jobs. If you look at like Mado's Develop Minnesota 2016 plan, I mean that's a tenet in there is that they want to be able to both retain and grow their populations by providing work and then providing the housing for those people that come in.
Am I putting you in the position of justifying it again?
Yeah, I really can't justify this one, but it's a terrible position you put me in.
Yeah, I know, but I just come back to isn't supply and demand dictate some of that? I mean, if who's going to build a business or a rental? I mean, you're putting the cart before the horse. You don't go build a renting complex unless you're sure you have renters.
Right.
So if you don't have renters and you don't have the job base and you don't, what's your incentive to go out and do it?
Yeah, I mean, not much.
All right. Don't start justifying it.
I'm not going to.
By the way, you'll be happy to know this one, the Election Equipment Replacement Grant.
Huh.
The legislature authorized $7 million in grant funding to help local jurisdictions across the state replace aging election equipment. The funds are now available through the Office of the Secretary of State. The fund provides up to a 50% match for mandatory equipment. Oh, so we're going to make mandatory equipment, but you have to pay for 50% of it, and you have to apply to get it.
Yeah.
Interesting way our state works.
Yes, it is.
Grant amounts will range from $1,699 to $5,000 per precinct. A resolution from the City Council approving the applications is required, as well as a letter from the county auditor agreeing to assist the city in use of this equipment must be attached to the application. By the way, cities, you better get this in by 4 p.m. on December 15th, or you ain't getting it.
Time is a ticking away.
But that's amazing. You pass laws requiring something. Then you say, well, we'll give you grant money for it, only if you pony up half of it, get a letter from the county, whatever the heck I said, and so on and so forth. It's like, this is about voting, people.
Yeah.
And I mean, what's the definition of aging equipment? You and I have talked about this life cycle.
Yes.
No, you got a chair sitting in the office that has a 10-year life cycle, so it just gets replaced.
Yeah.
Even if somebody's butt can still sit on it, it doesn't fall apart.
Now, there are some places where I can understand, like with a police car, if you want to sell it and get some value out of it before it gets to that point where it starts falling apart and it's not worth anything, I can understand that.
Jay, quit justifying stuff.
I'm just saying, but like a chair, like voting equipment, like putting things on a life cycle is crazy. And I think we've told this story before. One of our Crystal council people, Julie Deschler, when faced with replacing a fence at a softball field because it was on a life cycle and they said it needs to be done, she went to the field and actually looked at the fence, which nobody else on the old council did at the time.
I remember that.
And she's like, there's nothing wrong with this fence. And lo and behold, they didn't replace the fence because of
I wonder to this day if she hadn't walked to the park and looked at it.
Right. We'd have a new fence.
It probably would have passed 6-1, would have been my guess.
Oh.
Well, what's wrong with the fence? Well, nothing. It's just been there for 10 years, and we're supposed to the depreciation's gone, so we're just going to replace it so we can start a new schedule again.
Well, I wonder, you bring up a great point. When you look at, like, capital assets on a CAFR, a comprehensive annual financial report, do they try to inflate those things with newer capital assets once the depreciation has reached a certain level?
Yes, because the depreciation life cycle is not completely under their control. It's due to the tax code.
Right.
So they can't depreciate an asset for 150 years.
Right.
So I think, yes, they try to replace them so it always looks like they have, like there's a write-off there.
Right.
So my guess is yes, I think they do. I'm not sure they think they're doing anything wrong. And again, if nobody tells them not to, what are they going to do? They can't keep doing what they're doing. But I mean, it was like you brought up the good example about the police car, and when this new council, when Jim and the new council were the majority there, they had found out, and I remember this, that they were replacing police cars every 60,000 miles.
Yeah.
And they changed the policy to make it 80,000, and that still seemed small, but like you said, that's when a car starts breaking down.
Right.
And when you go up to 100, 120, soon you're getting $500 for that car. Mm-hmm. So there was some method to the madness, but 60,000 was... And I'm sitting here, Crystal's a city of 6 square miles. How in the world, how many miles a day are these cars driving around?
Right.
So, I think it was a good change, but I understand it gets to a certain limit where that still has value. And I wonder what they do, like with the office chairs. They go drop them off at the thrift store and write them off, or what do they do? Sell them at the city garage sale? I mean, what happens to that? Somebody take them home as a Christmas present?
I suppose they sell them like
put them on eBay.
I don't know if they'd like an auctioneer or something. Yeah, I would suppose it's something like that.
Maybe, but I don't see a revenue source in the CAFR for old equipment income.
No, I suppose not. I maybe they could call it something else.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe
know.
It's in the miscellaneous category or something.
Could be.
But the point. Look, we could go on and on and on all night about grant money. We could find 100 million different examples.
Yeah.
You don't have to look real hard. The point of the matter is that what's going on in a lot of cities is not just being manipulated by planning. It's being manipulated by your tax dollars. And you're right. It is bribery. It's extortion, I would even argue.
Yeah.
To do what's going on right here. Like I said, I use New Hope as an example. You've got a city manager incentivized to run out and find free money. Mm-hmm. So what's he going to do? He's going to look around at his land use, his the housing map, and say, okay, where can we justify applying for grant money to do something?
Right.
So that's how it's working. It's not just working in New Hope. It's working everywhere. You look at these livable communities. If you live in Hennepin County and you're not in Corcoran or Independence, or what did I say, Minnetrista?
Yeah.
You're pretty much a part of this program. Now, again, grant money has to be applied for.
Yes.
But I still think that it is hard to resist the free money.
It is?
I think it is difficult to say, okay, I can sell this to my city as we're getting something that we're not paying for.
Right.
And I think I think every day cities are trying to figure out how they can maximize this. And I think that it's gotten so dangerous. I mean, how do we break this cycle? How do we ever break this cycle?
That's the $1 million question. How do you, once you start to go down that path and you start getting the goodies, and all of a sudden you tell your constituents, we're no longer going to go after the goodies. We're just going to have to maintain. You're going to have to explain
build it and pay for it ourselves.
Yeah, you're going to have to explain it in a way that, hey, we're we're not doing the right thing, and we need to get healthy financially. There's going to be a little bit of a period that it's a sore spot because we're going to have to fill our funds back up so that we can afford this stuff. Is it
something like going after the Met Council, where it's going to take from the top and it's going to take from the bottom? Mm-hmm. It's going to take cities to not do this, and law changes also at the state level.
Yeah.
Is it going to kind of have to be both?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you still got federal grants and stuff.
Well, that's true.
FTA and all that kind of stuff.
And HUD in particular.
Yeah. So you're going to have to figure out then, how to do that. But, I mean, that's kind of the beauty of our system, the community solution system, that we put people into local office, vet them. If they're doing the wrong stuff, you toss them out. You bring in somebody else. Take the people who are doing the right stuff, then send them up to the county level, send them up to the state level. And if they're doing the right stuff, you send them up to the federal level. Hopefully they make an impact. They make the changes when they're there rather than sitting on their hands. If they don't do the right things, you toss them out. Of course, it gets harder the further away you get from the community, but it's by starting in the community and watching somebody in their decision-making process at the beginning. How do they do it? Are they worth keeping around? You got to build it from the bottom, I think.
Well, I think so too, but I think one thing I challenge people to do is look at their city and see how many grants they're taking. And like you said, every grant's not evil, but every grant comes with strings attached. Every grant is for a specific time, for a specific dollar to do a specific thing. And I think there's a lot of cities who kind of expect grant money to come in every year, and that is a very bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do that. It's the same thing with LGA. If you take LGA, local government aid, and don't put it in your general fund, you're not dependent on it.
Yeah.
You're dependent on it when you expect it in your general fund every year. If you took LGA every single year and said, okay, we're going to fund one thing with this.
Yeah.
One project. If we don't get it, fine, that project won't get funded. But if, the Public Works Director's health insurance is coming from LGA, well, you're dependent on it, and you're going to feel entitled to get it.
Yes. So
grant money works the same. I think you're right. I think it's going to start at the local level, but I think ultimately it's going to be resolved by both sides. Ultimately, whether that's Congress, whether that's the legislature, whether it's curbing the Met Council's power and authority, it's going to take some effort up and higher government also.
Oh, it will, but there's no political will to do it right now, so that's why you need to raise them from the local level and send them to that level. I just want
to know, why isn't there any political will?
Well, because...
Why doesn't anybody pull the MnDOT's commissioner in front of a budget meeting and say, why is all this grant money going out of here? Your job is not to do that. Minnesota Department of Transportation's job is not to go out and bribe places. It's to go out and build roads.
Right, and that's what they should do. And there's not a good excuse for it. And I imagine there are probably a handful of people out there, at the state legislature that are willing to do that. But I think it's few and far between.
I think you're right. All right. Well, I hope we gave you some things to look at. Look inside your budget. It's not easy to find. You'll probably find a grant total. You may not find it broken down the way you like it. You might find it. You might not. Yeah. Some budgets are better than others at spelling that out. But if you're in one of the 95 cities here that are part of this LCA, chances are you're seeing these projects pop up, and it's not a coincidence that the same things are happening everywhere, just like we always say.
Right.
All right. Well, that's enough info for one show, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that gives you a good introduction to grants and how they work.
True, and we could take one of them and go on and on and on, but we won't do that. Jay, our final pitch. Where do you find us? Why do you want us? How to get a hold of us? You always do well at this. Take it.
You know, Minnesota, we're in a hole. And I'm going to say this because it's true. We have let government grow and grow and grow. And we've tried to make changes at the state level, and it hasn't ever produced the kind of fruit that we're looking for because we have ignored what goes on in nonpartisan politics. We have ignored what happens in city councils, county commissions, and in school districts. And we have allowed them to just spend money willy-nilly and, hey, it's for the kids, or hey, it's for this or that. And we don't question it. It's just silly. So we need to begin to right the ship. And those of us who have been asleep at the wheel and not stood up for the right things when it's time, I'm telling you, it is time. It is past time. It's time for you to stand up and for you to take control of your community once again. So how do you do that? Well, for one, listen to our podcast. I don't think this is the first time I get to mention this on the podcast. If you have a smartphone, and who doesn't nowadays, go out to your iTunes, on iTunes for your podcast app on an iPhone. Go out to the Google Play Store if you're on an Android. Look up the Community Solutions Podcast. We're there. We are now officially on every smartphone. So that's one way you can find us. Share it if you appreciate what you do at what we do, because it's by all of us getting this information and doing something with it that we can make a change. Likewise, you can still go out and find the stuff on the blog, and we're still putting articles up. COMMsolutionsMN.com. Also, you want to talk to us? Ask us questions, any of it, we're available. COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. Those are all ways to get a hold of us. We're on social media, all of that. We're not hard to find. Nobody else in Minnesota does what we do, and we're happy to do it.
Follow us on Twitter at... Did you say?
No, I did not.
No. Follow us at... Yeah. I'm setting you up.
Yeah. All right, follow us at... Well, now I got to look. That's crazy. That one is different. You see, Twitter is different because it limits your handle, and like if you don't set up good handles to begin with, it's different. That one is Comm Solutions. Everything we do pretty much is Comm Solutions, whether it has an MN on the end of it or not. It always has an MN on the end of it unless it's Twitter. Twitter does not have the MN on the end. So it's COMM Solutions on Twitter.
Huh. So, interesting.
Yeah. That's the way it works. Twitter, everything is shorter. I mean, it's not now that everything is twice what it was. But instead of 140, you get 280.
I get it. Even I get that.
Yeah. Anyways, so we're out there. You can find us. It's not hard. And all the ways that we can come and help your community, we list them out on the What We Can Do For You page on our blog. Make sure you go out there and really think about that, because we'd love even to just come and talk to your group about what's going on and tell our story. And it's a good time. So get a hold of us, and that's really all I got, Andrew.
Hey. Good show. That's all I got, too. But you always have to close it, Jay.
I do. I am the closer, I guess, of our show. So, Minnesota, you've heard our pitch. You've heard our story. You've been immersed in the problem now. It's up to you to take charge. So, we leave you with that. We love you, Minnesota. Now it's your turn to get to work.
get too